So Arsenal win. Manchester City. This was quite the game. And one of my favourite bits about this game was actually a piece of commentary by our very own Don Hutchinson, who was talking about a year or two ago, chatting with Darren Campbell, who is Adama Traore's sprint coach. And he said, what do you tell him? And Darren Campbell said to Don Hutchinson to slow down. He said, you're his sprint coach. You're meant to make them faster. He goes, no, I need him to slow down so his brain can catch up with his speed. And this was a game that we could have been talking about him having got a hat-trick, having been absolutely brilliant among the goals. But we're not. We're talking about Manchester City beating Fulham. We're talking about City finding a way. But this is a scoreline that does not tell the full story of what we witnessed, is it?
No, it does not. And you and I were talking just yesterday in previewing this, and you brought up the stat about City's inability, for want of a better word, to keep a clean sheet. So when Fulham take the lead, I was hardly surprised. That's just who City are. They concede. First of all, let me just say, I thought Fulham's opening goal was again a thing of beauty. Yes, the assist by Jimenez and into Pereira was really special, really nice goal. That being said, they could have been up at that point. Fulham, that is. Adama Traore had a chance, clean through it. Edison made the save. Give the goalkeeper his credit. But when you go to places like the Etihad, when you're playing against teams like Manchester City, you would think those chances are few and far between, and you've got to take them. So that would have hurt. But then Fulham take the lead, and you have to say, you give them the credit, deservedly so. Again, considering the opponent, considering the venue, I thought Fulham were good value to take the lead. And then the Manchester City, I don't want to say the machine kind of ticked into gear, because there was a sense of good fortune about Kovacic's equalizer. From a set piece, it pops out, he's there's a deflection, and then all of a sudden, you thought that's where City would again come good. That's where City would just take this game by the scruff of the neck, and you wonder if you feel sorry for Fulham, and you begin to dwell on that missed Adama Traore chance, and what happened from then on in. Again, I'll say this. It's not that Adama Traore could have had a hat-trick. Traore should have had a hat-trick. He should have had a hat-trick, because all three of those chances at this level, you do not miss. At best, you miss two of those. At best, you score two and you miss one, you give goalkeeper credit. But three chances at the Etihad like he had, you do not fluff your chance every single time. And that ultimately is what defines this game. Because again, at some point, I'm sure we look back on this and see City beat Fulham 3-2 and think, well, a little bit closer than was expected. But, City get the 3 points. That's about par for the course. When this game was anything but par for the course. City can count themselves really, really lucky. And even with Kovacic doing his best Rodri impression, listen, I thought Kovacic was good. And while I say there was a sense of slice of good fortune to the opening goal, I thought the timing of his arrival for the second was Rodri-esque. The strike was Rodri-esque. So while, again, in talking about this game yesterday, I wondered how City would miss that threat arriving late from outside the box, Kovacic proved the antidote for that.
Just to reference something you said there about what we were talking about on ESPN FC Live on Friday, twice a week, by the way, Wednesdays and Friday at 12 Eastern. And it was Manchester City's inability to keep a clean sheet at home. They haven't done so since March. Since then, Villa, Luton, Wolves, West Ham, Ipswich, Brentford, Arsenal, and now Fulham have all scored at least one goal against City at the Etihad. Now, on the majority of those games, City have won, and that Kovacic goal put them ahead. However, they kept knocking at the door, Fulham, and they've got something. A little bit of a surprise, maybe, in the team sheet that Emile Smith-Rowe wasn't in the starting 11. He came off the bench. But the third goal went in for City, and it's a belter. Rico Lewis, who is someone he's having a great season. He had a good pre-season. He kind of started off as a right back, then he was an inverted fullback in midfield. Now he's kind of playing alongside Kovacic. He got the assist, but it's one of those. It's all about the goal. It's just a pass, the assist. And Doku, I think there's one angle from behind the goal, and that thing moves. It's a brilliant strike. But to have the ability to bring guys like Doku off the bench, because Grealish was okay, he wasn't great, but Doku's more direct, isn't he?
Yeah, listen, and credit to him. And again, we can't underscore how good that goal was. And I was fairly critical of Jeremy Doku, particularly in the Arsenal game, where I felt he was largely ineffective. He kept trying to come back inside and running into this red wall of Manchester City's and not really doing an awful lot. You know, threatened to go down the line, came inside, didn't do an awful lot. Threatened to go down the line, came inside, didn't do an awful lot. This time he comes inside and finds space and finds an incredible strike, which I think Doku needs to add more to his game, because while we know about his pace, while we know about his willingness to run defenders to the line, they want to show him back outside to the box, back centrally to where their strength is, to where the cover is, and too often when Doku has gone in that manner, he's just looked for a little slipped pass to somebody else top of the box, and he's not threatened. Now all of a sudden you add this, you give defenders a problem. Do I show him line and just let's deal with the cross, or do I show him outside knowing that he can hit them as he just did? To credit Jeremy Doku for showing us that. I'd like to see it a whole lot more, because I think if he does, defenders have a real problem in trying to deal with him.
I remember watching him in Germany for Belgium in the summer, and he's the type of player that you kind of, he's got the ball, what's he going to do with it next? Sometimes it's horrible, but most of the time there's something, whether it's an end product, a pass, a bit of pace, a bit of skill. He's a fun footballer to watch, and certainly more direct than Jack Grealish, who's an excellent player himself, but just a different type of player. Rodrigo pulling one back for Fulham near the end. I think the only thing that goal did in this game was probably put more of a gloss on a scoreline that was probably fairer, 3-2 rather than a 3-1. Oh, that's a comfortable 2-goal victory.
Yeah.
Fulham are all right. They'll be fine. They're not frightened to go to the big teams. But for City, okay, no De Bruyne. Phil Foden was kind of used as a 10 today. No Rodri. He's going to be out for a while. How big a drop-off is that without those two key players for a Manchester City at their strongest compared to what they are right now?
Huge. And listen, I don't think we can underscore their again, inability, for want of a better word, to keep clean sheets, because that puts an awful lot of pressure on the front line to score 2 and 3 goals every single game if you want to win. And it also kind of affects how you play, how you press, how high up the park you press. So I think that those things have huge knock-on effects to the way City play. The counter to that is you find Erling Haaland in the best form. There is nothing anybody could do. But now all of a sudden you're relying on Erling Haaland to have that form week in, week out, when sometimes the service might not be there. And that's that's a huge ask. And I say it's a huge ask in a league, and maybe more to the point, in a season that there isn't an awful lot of wiggle room. The one thing we know, and we spoke about this, is Arsenal's defensive record. Listen, I know they conceded today, but more times than not, you could put your mortgage on Arsenal keeping a clean sheet. So they're going to be picking up points even when they play badly, you feel. City, if they play badly, I'm not as confident that they at least pick up a point. And that's the issue, because we are talking about the Fulham team who's gone away from home, scored 2 goals, and yet heading back down to London without.
Guardiola wants Manchester City's first matches of next season to be postponed. It's due to the Club World Cup in the USA, which doesn't finish until July the 13th. We understand that City have held informal discussions with the Premier League over the possibility of postponing the games, but there hasn't been a formal request. Well, City and Chelsea's involvement in the expanded Club World Cup means there's just 3 weeks between the end of the Premier League season, potential European club finals and the Club World Cup beginning. Teams will need to play 7 games in 30 days to make the final on the 13th of July. And just over a month later, the new Premier League season begins.
Premier League not allowed us to postpone Chelsea, I think, but other teams will go to the World Cup, postpone the first 2 games to have more recovery. Thank you so much. So, like, they don't postpone this game, so that will be, the moment will be, oh, what do you have to do? Because I don't have an answer right now because I've not been there before.
Have you asked for a delay to your... Did you say you and Chelsea, they won't let you delay a game next season?
The first game, I think the club asked for the Premier League, the first or second game, the Premier League, postpone it 1 or 2, 3 weeks in the middle week to have 1 more week or 2 more weeks holidays after the World Cup.
But is that not allowed?
Absolutely not.
No.
The Premier League say yes to us? No, absolutely not. It's not going to happen.
Guardiola's unhappy about the directive that clubs must take their full-strength squads to the USA. He questioned what right FIFA have to dictate his team selection.
What is the strongest players? Which ones?
I mean, I presume it's you can't. Yeah, they'll say, look, you can't.
No, but the FIFA will tell me for them which players are stronger than the other ones. I don't understand that.
So, are you worried that your selection issue, of how you select a team, could be dictated by someone else?
No, we go all the squad there. We don't go for 1 game, right? So I don't know how it's the competition itself right now, but we don't go for 11 players. We go for all the squad. But I don't understand how is the selection, this player is stronger than the one. I know. But the stronger it means in forms. And maybe the strongest players for them is in really, really, really bad conditions for many reasons. Personal, physical, injuries, niggles. And he's going to play another ones. I'm not going to tell them, I'm not going to send before the games which play.
Kovacic at the double as City edge past Fulham. A.O. Kovacic scored twice, and Jeremy Doku grabbed a vital third as City secured a hard-earned 3-2 to win over Fulham. The visitors struck first after the Blues had gone close a couple of times, with Andreas Pereira scoring for the Cottagers on 26, but Kovacic levelled 6 minutes later and scored his second 2 minutes into the second half. Fulham, impressive throughout, went close to levelling on a couple of occasions, with Doku grabbing a superb late third to give City breathing space. However, a late strike by Rodrigo Muniz ensured Fulham were in the game up until the final kick of the game, and were arguably the best team City have faced at the Etihad this season. What happened? City could, and probably should, have been 2 goals up inside the first 4 minutes. First of all, the ball fell kindly for Ilkay Gundogan, who fizzed a low-angled shot narrowly past the right post, and moments later Erling Haaland found space behind the Fulham defence, but sent his shot just wide of the same upright. In fact, it was almost total City domination for the first 17 minutes until Adama Traore broke clear, but was denied by a fine Ederson save. The Blues continued to probe without really testing the Fulham keeper, and were made to pay on 27 minutes, when a hopeful header from Alex Iwobi found Raul Jimenez, who then backheeled the ball into the 6-yard box for Andreas Pereira to prod home from a couple of yards. A Fulham counter-attack down the right minutes later should have resulted in a second goal, but Traore shot over with just Ederson to beat.